evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining me on today's edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast. We're broadcasting live from our economic headquarters, Douala. For presentation, I am Immaculate Fogwe. First, our major stories. Tension, confusion and sorrow hits Ebok village in Mamfe, Mayo Division, southwest region of Cameroon. Armed men stormed the village today at about 8:04 a.m., killing at least 21 civilians and injuring over 100 others. Several houses got burnt in the course of the attack. We have greater details in this edition of the news. And on to something else. On today's edition of the news, we'll also look at the good, the bad, and the ugly side of President Paul Biya's 41-year reign. Those are major stories. Tonight, stay with us for details and more. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us on today's edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast. We'll begin right away in the southwest region where horror, carnage in a Ebok village, Mayo Division of the southwest region. Today, at least 21 people, including children, have been confirmed dead. They were burned to death in their sleep after their houses were set ablaze. About 100 others are receiving medical attention. The authorities and elites of the area have condemned the killings, which were allegedly carried out by separatist fighters. We have Smart Jikan Gabriel, who comes back to the tragic incident in this report.
Footwear scattered in disordered manner, houses burnt into ashes. This was the ugly face that was presented to the inhabitants of Ebok village in Mamfe Mayo Division as a result of an alleged separatist attack which left many casualties.
Assessment we have just done shows that we have registered about 20 persons who have been killed. So we continue to do the assessment of the case. About 10 houses burned, so the terrorists have burned the houses. Injuries also registered something like 7 persons who are in the hospital.
With the population left speechless after the incident, it was happening on a day elites of the division came to celebrate the anniversary of the ruling political party.
Two young old people wanting to celebrate the day of honor only to be shattered by people who have no soul, shattered by people who have no specific ambition in their life. What would you say the chief will say? But it appears they have been taken by surprise.
The elites say the attack has come on a wrong day and on an innocent population.
This attack has been unleashed on the population. We regret it. Sad day for man. Keep on recording sort of things. It's unfortunate. Mamfe, we've always decried, is at the border with the sister country, and this sort of people, the attack and run back to the villages are across the border. It's such a situation to handle. We can only regret the populations that have lost people. We can only address the condolences of the head of state.
The mayor of Mamfe, on a mission out of his town, is saddened about the situation.
What a shame. I call on my population to stay on the alert as the Amazonian terrorists are targeting the population.
At least 21 people have been declared dead, with several injured and the perpetrators not caught. It brings to memory the Ngabu Kwakwa and the Mother Francisca International Bilingual High School murder case, which till date haven't seen the accused punished.
Talking about crimes against humanity, a man in his 60s identified as Ebok Emanuel has been killed with the help of a machete by unknown assailants in a Maimo village in the Zeka subdivision, Nyankele division, center region of Cameroon. The traumatized population expects justice to be done and such a heinous crime prevented from reoccurring. We have details with Innocent Aze.
Ebok Emanuel, in his 60s, was killed by unknown assailants while on his way back from a meeting in Mahomi village in the Seka, Nyankele division of the Central region. The meeting register he carried was taken away, a shocking incident to the population.
One of our parents had been killed with machetes, having many wounds on the head, on his body, and unfortunately he could not survive. So the area is traumatized. People's behavior have changed.
C'est pour la toute première fois depuis notre génération que nous voyons des pareils cas.
Traumatized by the heinous crime, the presence of psychologists was imperative.
We came to assist the population as we are psychologists and to help them be free of the negative emotions that they have been having. We noticed that there is a positive change because the negative emotions dropped and we saw them more relaxed.
During a crisis meeting on Saturday, specialists re-echoed to the population to nurse bravery, denounce criminals, work in collaboration with forces of law and order to prevent a repeat of the crime. We hope peace and serenity will return, so that such a crime will not happen again. We rely on administrative authorities, defense and security forces. We want the truth behind the murder of Ebok Emanuel to be revealed. Let the forces of law and order carry out a thorough investigation to that effect. Psychologists say those still to fully recover from the trauma will be closely followed up till they are all right.
And now we talk politics. The New Deal anniversary has been described as a reign of sloganeering and failed promises at 41, considering the many elephant projects scattered across. While some of the projects have had exaggerated delays in execution, some have simply never been launched years after they were promised. We have details with Fomi Armstrong-Sanda.
Many have also described President Paul Biya's 41-year reign as characterized with sloganeering and scars of false promises. One of such unfulfilled promises that has lived throughout his reign is the Limbe Deep Seaport in the southwest region of Cameroon. After he promised to that effect in one of the election campaigns with former Prime Minister Simon Achidiachu, the project commenced but later stopped. Even with the project contract signed in 2013, amidst jubilation from the local inhabitants, this 400 billion francs project remains a promise in Limbe. Another such major project is the National Road Number 11, commonly referred to as the Ring Road in the northwest region of Cameroon. Promised by President Paul Biya in a visit to Bamenda in 1991, the 367-kilometer stretch of road has only seen 60.5 kilometers of its surface tarred. That is the Kumundop stretch of the Ring Road, tarred in 2012. In October this year, installation works began for the tarring of the Kumbunkambe Messages stretch of the Ring Road. Another elephant's project of the New Deal is the Douala-Yaoundé double carriage highway, common as the autoroute in Cameroon, which has ended in the middle of nowhere in the forests of the Sanaga Maritime Division of the Littoral region. It took 10 years for phase 1 of the project to get to where it is, and nobody in Cameroon can say with certainty when phase 2 will begin. The same story goes for the Yaoundé-Simalen double carriage highway, and the list continues. In the energy sector, the Benin Awara hydroelectric dam project in the Adama region of Cameroon remains a promise after a difficult realization of the Lompranga and Memvele hydroelectric dam project. In the agricultural sector, the tractor assembling plant in Ebolova in the south region, the cassava transformation plant in the same region, and the modern slaughter complex in Bafang in the west region of Cameroon are some of such elephant projects of the New Deal at 41.
On the same vein, there are calls for anticipated elections coming from within the ranks of the ruling CPDM party. This has raised suspicions of an illegal maneuver to maintain President Paul Biya's grip on power at all cost. Babla Jonathan talked to some political analysts and compiled their views in the following report.
While some Cameroonians think the President of the Republic should resign for, according to them, failing in his duties to provide solutions to the multiple problems plaguing the country, his followers are asking him to stand for re-election in the upcoming presidential election. Some are calling for anticipated elections.
If it's true that His Excellency President Paul Biya wants to precipitate elections, then there must be a very good reason for that to happen. The nation is going through a lot of trouble and a lot of hiccups, and I guess he wants to renew, that presidential seat and a couple of other things to give him and to give the nation the leverage to be able to address some of the problems, especially given that there is it looks like there's a lot of infighting and a lot of fight as far as that presidential seat is concerned.
In Cameroon, anticipated presidential election can only take place in case of vacancy at the helm of the state.
Any anticipated presidential election becomes unconstitutional. And so at the end of it, I would tell you that the issue of anticipated presidential election is more of a distraction to Cameroonians. It's a more of testing the ground to see if Cameroonians will be able to react the way they can react in one way or the other. But I think that it's a game put in place by the powers that be to let people be thinking, be knocking their heads about anticipated presidential election. And that explains why right-thinking politicians will tell you that any act of anticipated presidential election will equally trigger the suspicion of foul play along the line in that process.
The presidential, legislative and municipal elections are due for 2025.
And now we talk something else. A new dawn for the population of Jombe Penja, that is in the Mungu division of the Lithura region, following the election of a new mayor at the helm of the Jombe Penja Municipal Council. The election of Olivier Charlie Lobe Prizo comes on the heels of the ousting of the second mayor, Barrister Rene Manfo, who took over from Paul Eric Kinge. According to locals of this community, the problem they faced during the reign of Barrister Manfo will henceforth be a history. Details with Malaglory.
Bad roads, poor waste management, lack of electricity, and inadequate water supply are major challenges faced by locals of Njombe Penja. According to them, their worries might soon be a thing of the past.
We have potholes in our community. Also, since the stop of Izakam, we don't have people that are carrying our debts.
This is following the election of a new mayor, Charlie Olivier Lobe, at the helm of the Njombe Penja Municipal Council. Inhabitants of this community have been for at least 2 years without a mayor since the impeachment of the former mayor, Barrister Rene Manfo. The election of the young mayor has brought hope to the youth of Njombe Penja.
It is a history because the youngest mayor of the whole Cameroon is now found in the community of Njombe Penja.
Charlie Olivier Lobe, on his part, is aware of the task ahead of him.
C'est un chantier véritablement énorme qui concerne d'abord.
The work ahead is going to be challenging. First, we need to relaunch activities at the level of the council. It must be noted that the council has an accumulated unpaid salary of at least 10 months to its workers. The locality lacks roads, no electricity and poor water quality.
Possible d'avoir un verre d'eau propre en Njombe Penja.
He is the third and the youngest mayor of the Njombe Council, coming to replace Barrister Manfo, who was impeached due to mismanagement and absenteeism from work. The first being Eric Kinge. Charlie Olivier Lobe is expected to solve the numerous problems faced by the council and meet the needs of the people.
Malaglari reporting there. And in Cameroon, a greater proportion of the population most of the times neglect their health and only go to hospitals when they are in a critical state. To reduce the rate of diseases in the country, the 2nd Region Military Hospital in Douala each year organizes a free consultation campaign to diagnose and test patients suffering from various diseases. Our reporter, Asia Lucy Lengu, was at the 2nd Region Military Hospital and compiled this report for us.
Bid to curb the prevalence of diseases in Cameroon, the 2nd Military Region Hospital in Douala, under the authorization of the Ministry of Defense, organizes 2 sessions of a free consultation campaign each year. This time, consultations are being carried out in specific fields such as ophthalmology, oncology, psychiatry, urology, radiology, anesthesia, reanimation, dermatology, gastroenterology, biology, and other medical analysis. Patients who came for screening expressed satisfaction after they were consulted.
C'est très bien organisé. On nous accueille à l'entrée, puis on nous attribue des numéros.
Et qu'on vous dit qu'il y a campagne et que vous restez avec votre argent qui peut vous servir à payer votre médicament. Ça fait déjà un pas de plus.
This initiative, according to the head of the 2nd Military Regional Hospital, Dr. Colonel Koki Godfrey, is to strengthen the existing bond between the army and the population. In the course of the campaign, some patients will benefit from free treatments. The free consultation campaign will run from the 6th to the 10th of November 2023. The 2nd Military Region Hospital in Douala called on the population to massively come for consultation.
That's all put an end to this first part of the news. Talking Point is up next. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us on the second part of the news. Tonight, I'll be receiving Yam Timber. He is a writer and equally a philosopher, and we'll be analyzing President Paul Biya's 41-year reign. As I earlier said, we'll be looking at the good, the bad, and the ugly. So, over to you, Yam Timber. Can you give us concrete analysis? But now, I want you to focus on President Paul Biya's achievements as far as his 41-year reign is concerned.
I cannot forget anyway, because of this dark blackboard of what have been the accomplishments of since 41 years. We will never forget that it is this man made a lot of efforts to avoid a war between Cameroon and Nigeria. Any war between two African states is something despicable, and he lets us, thanks to him, we avoided one with Nigeria. There is also this marvelous concept inspired by young students of the University of Douala in 1999 and 2000. That was the core idea of his speech during the United Nations Assembly in 2000, in the year 2000, and this concept was a World Ethics Committee. I don't know what the United Nations have done with this marvelous concept, with this marvelous idea, but I'm hopeful that one day there will be a Cameroonian who will take advantage of it and try to change the world using this concept inspired, as I say, by young students of universities of the University of Douala, and that the president presented to the United Nations in the year 2000 during National Assembly. And this president, Paul Biya, we cannot forget, we'll never forget, that he is also the one who brought China in Cameroon. He is also the one who opened, who negotiated so that we can have diverse partnerships with different countries in the world. China came because of him. We were already in relation with Russia, but we consolidated our relations with Russia. So it's up to new generations now to get advantage of the BRICS Plus to in the process of developing Cameroon. It's also very interesting to note that President Biya tried to equip the country with a lot of infrastructures for sports, for youth, but this failed because of the people surrounding him and because maybe of the vision around this. And let me tell you something. I am really angry with people who didn't achieve, who didn't complete the complex, the Paul Biya complex around it, because all the ministers, all the civil servants, everybody, all these political leaders we have in Cameroon, they owe something to Paul Biya. That's why I told you earlier that none of them should be the next leader of this country.
Yam Timber, critics are of the opinion that President Paul Biya inherited a rich and emerging country, an equally peaceful country for that matter. But now things seems to be changing. Now we hear about the crisis up north, that is in the northwest and southwest regions, where we are talking about the Anglophone crisis. Equally up north in the far north regions, where we are talking about Boko Haram crisis, and also in the east region, where we are talking about Seleka rebels. At this stage, should we hold the president accountable, given that the socio-political crisis has been affecting the entire country?
Just say this country has never been rich. The strategic decisions made by the government of Amadou Ahidjo were just something inaccurate, something that we would have not made. It was they were very, very bad strategic decisions, and this country have never been rich. The president, what we can tell the president is that he could have changed that. The current president, 41 years in power, he could have made Cameroon a very rich country. But he didn't inherit a rich country. He inherited a country that was able to raise itself to fortune and to become a developed country, but it was not a rich country. In 1982, Cameroon was still a very poor country. You just need to go and see the papers, the newspapers. You go and see the books written in those days. You will see that Cameroon was not a rich country.
And now, tribalistic tendencies, corruption, and embezzlement have taken central stage during his reign. We can quite remember about the COVID-19 gate, Olymbe Stadium scandal, and equally we can remember the AFCON gate. Given all these issues and many others that have happened, the Frenchman will ask, qu'est-ce qui n'a pas marché?
This didn't start under Paul Biya. Do you remember the 1972? People should think about that. Do you remember Selukam? People have always been corrupt in this country. It didn't start under Biya. But once again, he could have changed that. Because in 1986, I think, he would have punished people, but not called to come with proofs, with evidence that people are corrupt. People have always been corrupt, and he knows that. He knows that. He knows what happened in 1972 with the African Cup of Nations. He knows what happened with Selukam. He knows what happened with Sonel. He knows everything about that. So it is not because he is now in power since 1941 years that we have to act or to think that all these negative things started under him. No, this country was experiencing all that before Biya came to power. And he was at the heart of he was inside the apparel of power, so he knows exactly who was corrupt, where it came, where this corruption came, and how to settle it. The problem with him and with his government, with governments, is that they didn't take time. They were not courageous enough. They didn't have the initiative to stop that mess.
The head of state is known to have leveled the ground for multi-party politics in Cameroon, that is in the 1990s. Is the birth of multipartism in Cameroon a curse or a blessing with regards to the arrest and detention of civil militants of opposition parties and also the denial of public manifestations?
The head of state is not the one who brought multipartism in Cameroon. When he was a student in France, there was multipartism in this country. We had the party of Ahidjo, the UPC, and some other parties. So there was multipartism in this country since, I think, 1962, 1963. So there was multipartism in this country. The pressure of the population led him to change this. And he changed it before what is usually called the east winds. Now, he was obliged to change it in 1988. And the winds of the East, which came in the 1950, and the speech of La Baule, which came in 1990, the winds of the East, 1989, the discours de La Baule, 1990, the Cameroon was changing in